there are currently over 40 million digital nomads worldwide. 45% of nomads report loneliness and isolation, 25% struggle with work-life balance, 14% spend more than planned, and 32% need financial support from family. We learned the hard way that this lifestyle isn't always how Instagram promises. We've been doing this digital nomad thing for the last 2 years and it isn't all laptops on the beach. So I'm going to share with you 5 truths that are either going to prepare you for success or save you a lot of money on a mistake. I'm going to be brutally honest about the cost, the impact on our relationship, and why our productivity wasn't as good as it needed to be right in the beginning. But most importantly, I'm going to show you exactly how to handle each challenge so you can live an incredible life. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the loneliness and community, because when we first moved overseas, I was working an Australian job, so I had to keep Australian hours, the 9 to 5 in Australia, which meant that depending where I was, and we're in Mexico some of the time, big mistake, we had to start work really late or start work really, really early. And this meant it was kind of hard to enjoy where we were because we didn't have the time to go and explore at the right hours of the day. And not to mention all of our work, like it does right now, relies heavily on internet. And some of the things that we didn't look into, which I'll go into a bit more depth about, is making sure our accommodation had good internet or the location that we were going was going to have good internet. And this meant we were super stressed. I was trying to keep my Australian hours. I didn't have good internet. And to stack on top of that, I was also trying to make an online income because I was trying to transition away from my 9 to 5 back in Australia. Now, with all these things that I've just said, it really left not much time for socializing or meeting new people. We obviously kept going to the gym, and that was kind of our only time to get out and about. We actually didn't explore too much in the beginning, and this was because we didn't really have any boundaries and we were working so hard to try and make this work. Now, this definitely had an effect on our emotions. It definitely made us feel lonely. We definitely took a lot more time to settle into places because we hadn't set correct boundaries. And we worked so much that we didn't really integrate ourselves into the place that we were at. Now, this wasn't necessarily our fault because we didn't have any clue about what it was like working as a digital nomad, and we didn't know these things would kind of come up when we moved over. That's why I'm creating this video for you guys, because there are 4 non-negotiables that we now have before we even go to a country. And if we have these 4 things, we know that we're going to have a good time and we're going to avoid a lot of these feelings that arose. Number 1 is good internet. We need to have good internet to work. If it doesn't have good internet, it's just a hard no. Number 2 is we need accommodation that feels like home. We need space, we need natural light, we need a comfy bed. We don't want to be trying to avoid coming home. You know, we're working and traveling. We're not just traveling and having a holiday. And to be honest, this might sound a little funny or like a little bit particular, but you'll be amazed how much better and how much more productive you will feel if you're in a place that you enjoy. And that brings me to my next point, which is we need to have our supermarkets and our gyms close by, at least somewhere to go shopping and go training, because these are part of our routine and super important to us and will help with productivity as well. Additionally, gyms are an awesome place to meet people, and throughout our travels we met so many people at the gym and created a community from going to certain gyms because you usually run into the same people every single day. Also, most digital nomads will go and train, so you'll be able to connect with people like that, as well as the locals, which is kind of what you're after. And then finally, we need to make sure we have things we can cook with at home. So like an oven or a stove top. These things are super important so we can prep food that we enjoy and we don't have to rely on going out for food and all of that sort of stuff. And then finally, a little bonus is we try to always be near the water, whether this is a pool or the ocean. Abby and I love living in warm climates. So if we're in a warm climate, we want to be close to somewhere we can go for a swim. If you have any non-negotiables that you want to add, please let us know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Second, we're going to go into the legal stuff. and visas, because this is something I really didn't consider at all when we moved overseas, which was probably, a bit naive of myself and Abby. When we first moved and went to Thailand, we went on a tourist visa. And as a tourist, you're not supposed to work, but as long as you are not taking income from the local people and your business is registered in another country, plus you're a tax resident of another country, and that income that you're getting is from another country or international, then you don't really need to worry about having a working visa. It's only really when, and this is for a lot of countries, it's only really when you're taking away work from the locals. So if you start up a business in Thailand, then you will need to pay Thai tax. If you're taking clients in Thailand, then you'll need to pay some Thai tax. And that's kind of been the rule of thumb for us whenever we're traveling around. Unless a country has a specific digital nomad visa, which there are many, and I'll put a list of some of them here so you can check them out. Places like Portugal, Estonia, Barbados all have digital nomad visas that you can apply for. Some can be a little bit more expensive, but it means you really don't have anything to worry about while you're working over there. Now, stepping away from the working visa situation just to the visa situation, because this is the other thing, you can't stay in countries for a really long period of time. So when we were in Thailand, we could stay, and it varied over time because of laws change and you got to keep on top of these things. But in the beginning, we could stay for 30 days and then we were able to extend another 30 days while we were in the country. And then it changed to you could stay 60 days. And I don't think we extended the next time. I'm not sure what it is now. I think it's back to 30 days. But if we were staying for over that period of time, we would need to go and visit another country and then come back in, which is called a visa run. And there's nothing really wrong with it, but some countries are cracking down on this because they have a lot of people staying there for too long. So that's why I probably suggest you move around from country to country and then just make sure that you're staying within the limit of time. So another one is when we've been traveling around Europe, we can only stay for 90 days out of 180 in Schengen European countries. I think it's Schengen or Shenzhen, one of the two. So you have to be careful and just make sure that the amount of time you're staying in places line up and you don't get into trouble there. We did have one issue with our visas when we flew to Phu Quoc, which is in Vietnam, and that is visa exempt for Australians and for some other countries. But then when we flew out of Vietnam, we had a stopover in Hoi An or something, and this was not allowed. We couldn't stop over even if we were flying out of the country because it was a domestic flight. So we were in a bit of strife for a while and we were worried we couldn't fly, but it all turned out okay in the end. So a couple of things that I would suggest is make sure you check visa requirements before you leave. Apply for your visas early. Places like Croatia have a 50% rejection of visa applications. So some places are harder to get into than others and from other countries. So if you're from places like Asia or maybe the Middle East, it can be harder for you to get a visa to go to these countries. But as long as you have a system and you stay on top of it, you're going to save yourself a whole bunch of time and money probably. And finally, when you do go to a country, you need to sometimes have an ongoing ticket to show that you're going to leave the country. Now, sometimes you don't plan to leave the country in 3 months or whatever, so you haven't booked an onward ticket, but they won't actually allow you to get on the flight without an onward ticket. So what you can do is you can go to one of these websites and they will purchase you a ticket. And then you can just show them and it only costs you $20 and then they basically will get a refund for the ticket. So they'll book you an actual flight. It costs you £20 or something, $20. So you can show it when you board your flight and then you can get in the country and book your other flight, your real flight later. Number 3, we're going to talk about money and financial surprises. Like, what does it actually cost for you to become a digital nomad? And how much did we save to start doing this? Abby and I, we saved over $30,000 before we came over here. Plus I had a full-time job as I was here for the first 3 months. So we had a big safety net. And I would really suggest that you create some sort of safety net like that for you before you go overseas. So you can give yourself the best chance possible of making this your new life. And there's a couple of reasons to having this safety net. The first one is you don't have to be stressed about money as soon as you come over here. And the second one that stacks on top of this is it allows you to be comfortable as soon as you move overseas. So let's say you move to a place like Da Nang in Vietnam, or you move to Bali. You will have enough money to get a place that you're comfortable in, like I said before, and that feels like home. This is only going to make you work harder, make you feel like you're living the life that you want to live, and it will prolong your mental resilience. If you're going alone, it's you being by yourself, or if you're going with a partner, it's you guys living in a new place together. You know, it's new, it's different. And a lot of people who don't have a safety net and have a lot of stresses will go home because on top of the money stresses, they've got the stresses of finding people to connect with, finding the gyms, finding their way around, sometimes a different language barrier, cultural differences, all of these sorts of things are added little stresses. And when you have a safety net, you can kind of turn these little stresses into positives. But if you don't, then it all kind of builds up. As our time as digital nomads went on, we realized more and more how important it is to book correctly the first time. So by booking accommodation that you've already checked has good Wi-Fi, you might pay a little bit more, but it's in a better location, all of these sorts of things. That will save you money later down the track. In fact, not too long ago, we had an Airbnb that didn't have good Wi-Fi, but lucky for us, Airbnb did give us a refund for that one. And unfortunately, it was because we booked an Airbnb that was brand new, so it didn't have many reviews. That was the price we paid. So if you can go and search for reviews and make sure that it's comfortable, there aren't any bad things, you kind of save yourself from that added stress of having to rebook or find other accommodation. The other thing is, with flights as well, you might find this convoluted direction where you save $100, but the truth is you might save $100 and the flight takes you 48 hours, but then you'll end up spending money on things like extra food, or there might be some other thing you have to pay for, or if you're staying there for ages, maybe you'll pay for a lounge, and then in the end, you just lose out. But anyway, I'm all for saving money, and if you can find the best route and save money and not spend any on the way, then good on you. Number 4 is productivity struggles, and I got this wrong in the beginning because I thought working harder would increase my productivity, and it was the complete opposite. By not going out and enjoying what we were doing, I decreased productivity because I felt stressed. I wasn't enjoying the places we were at, which is the whole point of being a digital nomad. And then that reduced productivity because I was always worrying about if things are going to work. And what we've done to change this is actually the first thing was create YouTube videos. And we did this actually not because we wanted to be travel influencers. We did this because we wanted to set aside time to go and experience the place we were in. So by creating YouTube videos, we locked down one day where we would go out and explore and do the touristy things or check out the cool spots in the place we were staying. And this allowed us to have time and really immerse ourselves in what was going on around us. I'm not saying that you have to create YouTube videos, but I'm saying that we needed to set boundaries so that we knew when was time for work and when was the time to go and enjoy. And there's a couple of other ways we did this as well. We always made sure we were training, so going to the gym or doing some kind of activity, and especially in the morning if the gym opens early, obviously sometimes we couldn't. and that was a non-negotiable. And then secondly is we close down or lock down and close our computers at a certain time every day. Usually Abby and I discuss this and decide what time we're going to wrap up. Another thing that comes into this is if you're taking work calls, you should try and make sure to schedule them during times that you're away. Obviously, this isn't always going to work, especially if you're doing sales or something like that, but try and set those boundaries and then you're just going to have a much better time. So those are the 4 things that kind of nearly broke us as digital nomads in the first year. The loneliness, visa headaches, the money surprises, and basically just the work-life balance. But honestly, these aren't deal breakers. They're just things that no one really talks about when they are living this type of lifestyle. So number 5 is going to be something that ties all of these things together, because most of these problems come from just not being prepared. And if you don't know what's ahead of you, then there's nothing that you can really prepare for. And that's why I created this video. So you know the struggles that we had and you can better prepare yourself for when you inevitably face some of those struggles. Because this is a lifestyle, it's not a holiday. So you're going to have ups and downs. Things are going to happen just like it would back home living your normal life. But this time you're overseas doing it on a tropical island, which I think is much better. So here's a couple of things that I would do in advance of moving overseas. Number 1 is I would build my base. So save up at least 3, maybe even 6 months worth of savings so that you have a safety net. Number 2 is test the waters. Go and work overseas for a month, or go and trial working overseas for a month in a place that you can see yourself doing it for longer term and see how it is. What problems arise? Is it what you expected? Is it what you wanted to do? Number 3 is connect early. Join Facebook groups, join WhatsApp groups. Look for other people who are doing the similar thing in the place that you're going and connect with them. Make friends before you go and you're going to have a really incredible experience. The internet is a beautiful place. You can make friends online and then meet them in real life. In fact, I've got so many mates that met through Instagram, some that I've met in real life, some that I haven't, but you can build those connections early and it can make it a whole lot easier, especially when you're going out of your way to do something that's not really common where you're from. If you're living in a small town or if you're living in a city and none of your friends are traveling and working remotely, then lots of them aren't going to really understand when you talk about those sorts of things. So you need to make connections with people who are doing something similar to what you want to be doing. And number 4, just a little bit of reflection or a message to anyone who wants to become a digital nomad is it can be a little bit tougher than you think it's going to be, but as long as you keep your routine and you make sure you step out of your comfort zone to make connections, then you're going to have the most incredible experience of your life. Being able to live and travel wherever you want and experience new cultures, experience new things, and also live in places that align with who you are much more than where you are from. It's incredible. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you do like it, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you subscribe for more videos like this. I have a video on the top 5 cities to live in for under $1,000 a month, which is perfect for digital nomads. So if you haven't checked that out already, go check that out. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.